Off top, average person blinks 20 times per minute. Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. It's just me and my man Charlie, the Vanilla Snack Kravitz. Do people still call you Vanilla Snack online?
No, not as much.
We got to get that back going. It was a fun nickname. Did you change all your socials to Vanilla Snack?
No.
Why not? You didn't lean into it?
No, I didn't. But I'm now getting people are texting me pictures of TVs on ESPN2, being like, "Hey, that's you. What are you doing on TV?" I don't know. I don't know either, buddy.
I have a Vanilla Snack confession to make.
It was your burner account that posted it?
No.
That would be an incredible confession.
No. The Vanilla Snack was a natural thing that was born outside of me. The people really think you are a Vanilla Snack. But you remember a few months ago, I told you that one of my friends, I think it was my cousin, my wife's cousin, got an Instagram message about someone asking about you on the show. Mm-hmm. I sincerely thought it was about you. And I sent it to you, and we played it on television as if it was about you. It was actually about Wozni. She had the hots for Wozni.
That makes sense.
I'm sorry. You don't seem that disappointed.
No, it's okay.
I was heartbroken.
I hate attention.
I was heartbroken. It was a lot more fun when I thought that she really liked you, but she was like, it's Wozni. And then we had already done the episode, and I was like, too late now.
Can I make a confession?
Yeah.
Sometimes when we talk about just union topics on the show, I just start opening up Twitter and refreshing it on my computer. And I pretend like I'm researching stuff to add the conversation.
My confession was not a hurtful confession. Yours is it cuts me deep. It's one of the few things that I actually genuinely care about. This stupid helmet in the middle of the table is a gift to me from the NFL Players Association. Union stuff is at my heart.
We have a monopsony on topics on this show.
Oh, gosh. And then you make fun of me with my favorite word.
We are punch drunk. We have done 3 episodes of the Domonique Foxworth Show today. This is the third one. It's going to be the best
It's going to be the best one. The pressure's off. We don't have to worry about the TV and all and keeping the clock. We can just have fun. I know we have some topics that we want to get to.
Yeah.
We'll get to those topics. One thing that we learned, particularly when we were in Miami doing the show, is we have to have some real sports at the center of it. We can't just go off on a limb. So where do you want to start with real sports?
It's true. By the way, this is a callback to Domonique Foxworth Show's past. I could have used a milkshake between episode 2 and 3.
Yeah, the little sugar high for my man Charlie. If you guys don't know, Charlie's a fat boy at heart.
And in visage.
All right, sports.
Okay, so I got my haircut today.
Cute.
Thank you. And my barber is from Washington, D.C.
Oh, gosh.
And he obviously wanted to know what I thought about Jaden Daniels because I've now reached the point where people foist their sports takes on.
Because they see you on ESPN2 and now they think that you are.
Or they'll know I do a sports podcast with you and then they're like, what do you think about this? But really, this is what I think about this. And DC native, really great guy. Shout out to my barber. He rules.
Can I say one thing before we get to this? I got a new barber recently, so I'm not talking about him. He's great. We have good conversations. We're both young-ish and progressive-minded, but there's no time in the history of my life where I have nodded and smiled to something that I hated to hear more than when a barber was saying something. Barbers can say and get away with saying some of the most politically incorrect and reprehensible things, and I'm just gonna be like, okay. I'm not about to engage you in a real debate.
That's exactly right. And that's where I'm going with this. Okay. So needless to say, my barber is very excited about Jaden Daniels as a DC native. He has mixed thoughts about Caleb Williams, where he kept on I hope he does well. He's a local. But then he also was like, he's really weird. And I'm paraphrasing there.
Yeah.
To keep it ESPN appropriate.
Yeah.
He's a weirdo. And I think over this summer, nothing has actually disproven the fact that Caleb Williams is a bit of a weirdo because, he tried to get paid as an LLC to commit tax fraud. Well, I guess not tax fraud, but try and be taxed differently.
Mm-hmm.
This is after all of the things about the draft. We saw his baseball swing. And the reason I bring all of this up.
The most offensive thing of all of that to you is his baseball swing. I know that.
It changed completely the way I am as an athlete. Because doesn't he look like one of those guys where you think he can do anything?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that you have some level of expectation that, and I guess it's because kids, maybe because they specialize sooner, but
quarterbacks are baseball players.
Yeah. And you just assume that, I mean, forget whether you're a baseball player or not. Like, there are sports that I've never played, but I watch it enough that I can be passable. I was shocked when I saw how uncoordinated he looked with a baseball bat, because it's like, I've never played organized baseball in my life. Throw me a bat, I'll look okay. I've played golf maybe 8 holes in my life. I can make a reasonable swing. It is a little concerning when you get a quarterback and he looks like he's never, he's confused by a baseball bat.
It was actually weird because his mechanics looked weird throwing out the first pitch also. Yeah. It was like he only knew how to throw a football, which was very strange. Yeah. Also, every single quarterback was the best pitcher in Little League and the best hitter in Little League. It's a very, but I guess Carl, his dad, decided he was going to be the next John Elway when he was 5 years old. So there wasn't.
John Elway was an incredible baseball player.
A bad example. Yeah. I don't know what other quarterback was a bad baseball player. But he didn't have time for the shallow and pedantic game of baseball as he was being prepared for the NFL draft. But I bring this up because football's back. Football is back. We are a mere 48 hours upon recording this away from the Hall of Fame game, which means we can all sort of slide into the delirium of watching some real professional football. Caleb Williams is not playing in that game. That's weird. Not that these preseason games mean anything, but he's the presumptive number 1 overall pick. I'm sure they scheduled that game to have Caleb Williams debut. I ask you, is this a big deal, little deal, or absolutely no deal?
I mean, I think you could guess what my reaction is. My instinct is to go no deal at all. It's a preseason game. Guys play fewer and fewer preseason games as the years go on. It seems the preseason games are less and less relevant, less important to a player's development. I'm slightly surprised because there's some advantage to just getting him out there. He doesn't have to have a big game. He doesn't have to play more than a series or a few plays. But you assume that, all right, practice the warm-up routine, practice going out on the field first time, calling a play in a huddle in a live NFL game. These are all things that you don't normally have to practice, but my experience with NFL coaches is they get excited about every little opportunity to get a rep in to make something easier, because next time you go out there, you'll be one step closer to whatever. And I know we had David Epstein on, who kind of doesn't believe in the 10,000 hour theories, but generally you get a little bit closer to getting a little better at what you're doing, a little more comfortable at what you're doing. And so I'm surprised a little bit that old school football coaches aren't like, all right, go out there, take a couple snaps, hand the ball off, third down, we're going to run curl flat, you complete it or you throw it incomplete, then we're going to get you on the sideline.
This just made me realize when you said that. That's an old school football coach thing. If he was confident that he could keep his job by telling Caleb Williams anything he doesn't want to hear. I don't know if Matt Eberflus knows he can keep his job by being like, Caleb, you got to take 4 snaps in this game.
That's interesting. So the thing is, you're implying that Caleb Williams doesn't want to take these snaps.
That would be my assumption.
I don't know why that's your assumption. My guess would be the opposite. Is, at least for quarterbacks and a rookie quarterback, it's not D tackles. Linebackers oh no, I don't want to go out there and hit anybody. My assumption would be Caleb Williams would want to go out there or would be indifferent about it. I don't think that Caleb Williams would want to not play. It seems like one thing that it does feel like he's comfortable with is attention. Yeah. So I don't think that Caleb Williams would avoid that. But I am surprised that Eberflus wouldn't want to at least get his feet wet.
The reason I thought it was Caleb is because he seems to want to lean into being like a football maverick in a lot of ways. Yeah. And I mean, preseason's stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's like, I'm not here to do preseason. I'm here to win you guys a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Preseason's stupid, but it's not without some merit.
Yeah.
I think there has value, particularly for a rookie. I do think
certainly.
I do think that he's going to probably play more than most quarterbacks. Established starter quarterbacks may not play any snaps at all. Mm-hmm. He's going to play a lot more than those guys, but I think what he knows is the same thing we all know is all that matters is how he plays. And I got made fun of a while ago on Get Up because they were asking what would be the advice you give to Caleb Williams. And I gave the very bad advice, but also accurate advice of ball out. It doesn't matter because it was the conversations. I assume that the unique things about Caleb Williams, again, we're using the TV safe words or the ESPN safe words, but the unique things about Caleb Williams are probably what your barber was talking about, because I've been around a lot of barbers who essentially are barbers and people like that who feel like painting the nails and like being very comfortable in the newer ways of football are not like, or the newer ways of culture are not congruent with our old school football mentality. And I think that none of that matters. It all becomes cool and acceptable if you ball. And if you don't, then it becomes a joke. So all that matters is how you play in the regular season. No one's going to give him any leadway if he plays well in the preseason and then bombs the regular season. So the only reason to play in the preseason is if you think it gets you closer to playing well in the regular season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just sometimes, for the record, you gave Caleb Williams great advice, which is
it's shitty advice, but it's
no, it's not though. It's like put the first thing first. Yeah. It's like that's I feel applicable to any young professional is basically do really well at your job and the rest of it figures itself out, which is like, to me, actually, if you were to say what's the number one piece of advice you should give to someone like Caleb Williams, who is prodigiously talented, but that talent in certain times has become certainly not a secondary conversation, but can be shrouded by some of the other things that he has or his dad has made part of the discussion of him.
I do think you don't want somebody who thinks they're going to outsmart the system.
That's exactly
and remake things. The fact of the matter is someone will at some point, but a lot of people will try and fail before that. And are you willing to take that risk?
And so that's exactly why I assumed that Caleb Williams was the one who didn't want to play in the preseason game, not vice versa, was because he's always trying to outsmart the system, it seems like. And the easiest thing for Caleb Williams to do is not rock the boat and play 4 snaps in the Hall of Fame game. Like, it's not a story if you do the really easy thing. You can even turn around and hand it off 4 times, and then Tyson Bagent can come in. Fan favorite Tyson Bagent can come in. Like, these are easy non-stories if you handle them the right way. And now I'm just completely projecting that it was Caleb's decision.
I still don't think it's Caleb's decision. But the reason why I accept and agree that it was bad advice, because the good advice would tell someone how they could definitely ball out, like do well. But the good advice would be some advice that I don't have is like the most important thing to succeeding at quarterback is to make sure that you are comfortable with throwing a check down. Like, I don't know what the most important thing is for a young quarterback to see, but I do understand that. I think you phrased it a little differently. That is probably more applicable. Is don't let anything distract you.
Yeah.
Don't everything gets easier. All the things that you think that you want, whether it's, and again, we're projecting whether it's celebrity, whether it's a lot of money, whether it is special contract accommodations, like all those things come, and you can look at LeBron James for an example. You can do whatever the hell you want as long as you are balling. You can tell them to draft whoever you want, sign whoever you want. They can pay you through multiple different ways. You can start an agency and fill it up with players and get paid that way. You can sell documentaries to anybody. Like, there are plenty of things that people will be willing to make sure that you can not circumvent the rules, that you can capitalize on opportunities as long as you are a real quarterback. If you are as good as you want in a major city like Chicago, Caleb, that's all that matters. So if any of this stuff, and I think a lot of people assume that this is his dad driving this stuff and this is not him driving it. So the sooner you can get to the position where you have the leverage to get all these crazy things that you want, that's when you start apply your leverage. Until then, it's a little harder.
This is so funny because we've now done this podcast long enough that there are times when I sound like you and you sound like me, because that is exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Whereas like it's also like, you know what the easy win for Caleb Williams is? Team didn't want me to play. I got to be out there with my cast for 4 snaps.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, are the rest of the ones playing? My assumption
I don't
is
know.
the ones
No,
aren't
probably
playing.
not,
Is they're
yeah.
probably not playing. In, I guess we could look this up. Maybe we should look it up before we say it. But I always thought the Hall of Fame game was an additional game. Is it add to 5 preseason games and not 4?
good question. We'll revisit that.
Either way, it's you only need. I mean, you need 1 preseason game.
Yeah.
Like what you really need is 1 preseason game, and he's gonna get that, and he'll be okay.
Can we rephrase Caleb's advice now?
Sure.
Just take easy wins.
Yeah.
Easy wins are great.
That is great advice. It's easy wins on the field, easy wins off the field.
Yeah.
Get all the easy wins you want.
Well, especially because like this is the fascinating thing is how we both reacted to the story, where you assumed just from the team, I assumed just from Caleb
Right.
Williams, and we both are like, well, it's actually whatever, it tracks because of the way he's forced himself to be perceived over the last year. But to the point that you said earlier, it was really interesting to me. I mean, we could do a whole podcast on LeBron starting clutch or not starting clutch or whatever, but it wasn't that part. It was the fact that like he's probably going to be within a year the most revered quarterback in Bears history, and none of this is going to matter. Like he's going to be so beloved because it's like, oh my God, the best quarterback in our team's history before this was Jim McMahon and Otto Graham, and now we have this guy.
I mean, I feel like
this guy who looks like Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes.
I feel like Jay Cutler is probably the best quarterback in the team's history, but he may not be the most beloved. But like from a statistical and execution standpoint, he's a Commodore.
Anchor down.
He's a Vanderbilt Commodore like Charlie. But I don't even have to go to the LeBron James example. We could look at Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers didn't even do it for the Jets. He just did it for the NFL. He just was great in the NFL. And then he became his own GM, gets a whole bunch of money, and does whatever he wants in the biggest city in America. So what matters is being great, and you have the leverage.
And he's way weirder. Way weirder.
Yeah, I don't foresee. My guess is that Caleb goes the other direction.
Yes, I agree.
And it probably becomes a little bit more conservative as he gets older, whereas Aaron went like so far to one side that he ended up on the other. This is definitely not the conversation I was expecting to have.
It's better. Aren't you delighted by this?
I am delighted by it, but we're all, I think, rooting for Caleb Williams. Like I want him to be incredible. I want this all to work out. I like Eberflus too. I want him to keep his job.
I remember when Caleb Williams was a freshman at Oklahoma. The first time I saw him play, I was like, oh my God, I thought he was the best player in college football immediately when he came in for Spencer Rattler. And then he had the crazy play where he handed the ball off on a 3rd and 2 and his running back got stopped and he stripped his own running back and ran for it. And I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. Not just, obviously you want quarterbacks to be good, but like gunslinging quarterbacks who take risks and are willing to extend plays. Like that is so few and far between at the top of the NFL. I mean, I know you have Allen and Burrow.
Yeah.
Like those guys. Sorry, Allen and Mahomes.
Still few and far between.
But a lot of them, it's percentage football now. Like you throw the ball so much, you want to be as efficient as possible. And the idea of someone who could do both in that Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen type of way, having more of those, the league is just so much more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the point that we make about analytics sometimes on here is how analytics has made every other sport boring except for football. Mm-hmm. And I think the way that analytics could make football boring is taking all these safe dink and dunk passes and RPOs that are like, all right, we're reading the linebacker and throwing a slant so we can get 6 yards, or we're handing it off so we can get 4 yards. That is not what Caleb is out here to do. Maybe that kind of cuts against the advice that you gave, is take the easy wins, but also do amazing stuff.
And I mean, 9 routes.
Yeah, Caleb loves a good 9. His arm is stupid. The NFL is unfamiliar with it, I think. Obviously, NFL fans are.
It explodes out of his hand. I think it was Danny Kelly who was doing draft evaluation for The Ringer when he said that he thought on a tool by tool basis, it wasn't just like the combination of things that made Caleb so special. He was like, I kind of just think he's better at every single tool than the best runner in the class, the most accurate thrower in the class, the best arm strength in the class, whether that was the combination of Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Penix Jr., and Bo Nix, and JJ McCarthy. It's like, no, I kind of just think Caleb is a better prospect than if you took the best traits from all of them.
It reminds me of like watching the Olympics. You remember the Olympics where Gabby Douglas, the gymnast, like she won the all around, and we had a bunch of
Michaela Maroney, Ali Reisman of the Fab Four. I can't remember the fourth one. I'm sorry.
And they all were really good at one particular thing. And now we have Simone Biles, who is like, no, you know what? You all were good at one thing. I'm better than everybody at everything. And that is essentially what Caleb Williams looked like in college. And now we may be, because it's like the arm strength, it's the accuracy, it's also the improv ability, it's the athleticism. It's like, you can't be good at all that stuff. It's not fair. And that's why it feels like it's a can't miss situation, along with the fact that they also have a lot of talent there. So it's a great situation. It's been said ad nauseum on this podcast and others that it's shaping up to be pretty good for him. So just score and win, and we'll all be happy. But speaking of the Olympics,
before we get there, just one piece to clean up. 3 more preseason games for the Bears after this. But also worth noting that, well, oftentimes starters don't play in the Hall of Fame game, but rookie first-round picks do. So it sort of falls in between because he's obviously more prepared and more hyped than a lot of them. But still, very interesting. Olympics.
There's one benefit of the Hall of Fame game is I think they let you start practicing earlier, right? There you go. Get some more time.
More reps.
NFL really wants him to succeed. I do too.
I do too.
All right, Olympics.
What Olympic sport do you think you could have been best at?
All right. I mean, the cornerback in me wants to say everything, but there are some things that are just so specialized that obviously, like, I could never do ping pong or table tennis. I'm sorry, no disrespect. Something like that, I couldn't work. But like, what first comes to mind is like rugby. Like, I think that the skills are pretty applicable. Like straight ahead speed, athleticism, like physicality and toughness. Like, it's the closest thing to tackle football. I played rugby one time when I was 14 years old. I was working at this camp with a bunch of high school kids, and they were like high school kids who went to private schools that like had access to rugby. So they were teaching me how to play rugby. And I mean, I never played rugby before.
No, it's just I went to a prep school. It's such a prep school thing to have like, random kids be like, I want to pick up rugby.
Yeah, so we were at this, it was called Camp Greentop. It's a residential camp for disabled children and adults. And we had like a month to do training because obviously they're unique skills. So during that month, we do a lot of training and then we have free time. And somebody had a rugby ball and a couple of boys there were high school rugby players. And so I played. I was 14 and they were all like high school, and I was still a better athlete than them because whatever. But like the rules are pretty straightforward. It's like the point is you get the ball in space and you get busy. And I think that I could have at some point, if our team was even good enough, the American men's team. I know the women's team is pretty good. They got a bronze. They were fun to watch. The physicality in that is scary, but I think I would have been fine with that.
I think that's the right answer. None for me.
No, there's something. I think Ashley said that she could do walking. Isn't speed walking?
The power walkings, they're like incredible though.
Yeah, but you could do it. No.
Not at an Olympic level.
Yeah. How far do they go? They just like, I mean, I guess it's in metric, which...
And they can scoot.
There's such hip sway. You got to have great hip flexor strength.
I do not. I'm in my 30s and have had a hip operation already.
Yeah. All right. Let's think skateboarding, no. Breakdancing. I'm trying to think. Or like the gun sports. Like I feel like you could train yourself to shoot. No. You're
I wasn't even good at Halo.
All right. Hold on. There's something. We'll find something for you. The kayaking.
Kayaking.
You'd be great at like slalom kayaking.
The whites love to kayak.
You got some good kayaking. Nothing?
No. I respect that people have put their entire life behind this.
It's not fun. You have to pick something. You're a big tennis guy. Obviously, you get destroyed in tennis because those are like real.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's not. We'll find something.
It does make me. It weirds me out every time that Novak Djokovic is like 3.5 years older than me. Between us in age, you are not my peer. I don't understand.
Beach volleyball. We're gonna find something. I'm not moving on until we find something for you.
I mean, whatever takes the least athleticism. Sailing.
Oh, there it is. Sailing. There you go.
Prep school.
I feel like you just listen to instructions. So they tell you what to do. raise the jib or something. I don't know.
Don't know how to sail, but I could learn.
Dressage.
That's the best. Yeah.
You could be a horse dancer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I feel like I hurt your feelings.
No, I mean, I don't know. Sailing's my best bet. But I mean, I was wondering because like I feel like you would have a good chance if you had done some of the sprinting ones early too.
Yeah, I never ran track.
I would thought about that because of Avery too, where it's like,
yeah,
if you had been like, I'm gonna run the 100 my entire life.
I never ran track.
Fast.
That's the funny thing is I thought I was much slower than I was because it took me a time to like getting ready for the combine. Like on the field, no one was ever faster than me, but like my 40 time was always slower than I anticipated. But then the combine trainers taught me actually how to sprint, which like I should have run track at some point. So someone could teach me how to like sprint in that way. And then all of a sudden like, oh yeah, you're like one of the fastest guys at this position.
There's so many high school kids who think they run I mean, obviously the kids who are at like, who are like, I run a 4.4.
No, you don't.
But there even the kids who are like, I run a 4.6.
No, you don't. No, you don't. I mean, have I told this story before? I know I've told you this before, but this is a public service announcement. If it ain't a laser, it ain't accurate. Yeah. And I was a highly touted recruit, and all the magazines, because I'm old, all the magazines said I ran a 4.3 because I went to some combines and I ran a 4.3. My first day at Maryland, we ran 40s and I ran a 4.6. Like that was more accurate because these combine numbers are lies. And then when I was leaving Maryland, I ran, or my junior year, I ran like a 4.5 because I didn't know how to sprint. And then I learned how to sprint and ran a 4.3. Yeah. Because it's like, you know how much time you miss in the start. It's essentially figuring out how to do the start.
So you were talking about it like the accuracy. Mm-hmm. I was also just think that like
people
your high school football coach doesn't want you to see that your running back ran a 5.3. And it's like, just put that down at 4.85.
There really is no reason like to time high school athletes.
But like I feel like every high school football coach does.
Yeah, I think the
conditioning tapes before the season.
Yeah, the kids probably want it. It's probably pretty fun for them to pretend like they're actually fast.
I mean, I remember when I was like a senior in high school, they're like, you run a 5-second 40 as a lineman. I was like, no, I don't. The time I was like, no, I don't.
You knew better.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could see at that point, the national, like they had the combine on TV and stuff.
I had also been just completely on my friends who claimed they ran 4.5s for too long. And I was like, I can't then believe the time.
Yeah, that is embarrassing, but I did. Are there any other Olympic stories that you care about that are interesting?
So we can touch on it briefly. I thought what happened with Coco Gauff was incredibly interesting. I mean, actually, I should say, I think what happened with Coco Gauff and Emma Navarro, the two young women tennis stars from the U.S. in the Olympics, briefly going through the Navarro thing, she really choked in the second set against Zhang and had a chance to serve it out, blew it, ended up losing the third set and went to the locker room and basically said she had no respect for Zhang as a competitor, that she was a cutthroat person and that no one in the locker room liked her. That was interesting and like ridiculous and was just incredibly poor sportsmanship, I thought. The Coco Gauff thing was fascinating. Mm-hmm. And the reaction to it was fascinating also. I watched it live and we were texting about it as it was happening. For the listeners who didn't see it, Coco, who is number 2 in the world, she's on a preferred surface on clay. And I think after Iga Swiatek was probably the favorite to win the gold medal, and at least a silver medal favorite on this surface. She was playing Donna Vekic, had gacked the first set, given up the break, had 3 set points in the breaker, blew it, was serving at 3-2 in the second set at 30-40. Vekic hit a deep return. Coco Gauff swung at a ball, decelerated, sort of shanked it. Right as the ball was leaving her racket, the Lions person called the ball out. The chair umpire overturned it, said the ball was in, but that since it was called after Coco swung, the point was going to Vekic and she was broken. Led to a 4-minute argument. Coco said that the call affected her swing path, et cetera, et cetera. It got to a point where she was crying and she said it was a conspiracy against her.
Is this what it feels like when I talk about union stuff?
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to make that joke. I had to defend myself. This actually,
that was a lot of background too, but I felt like how to describe the situation.
It's important to understand the situation. Coco Gauff is one of, I think, this country's sweethearts, and it feels like this is a unique, not it's the opposite of a unique scenario. I feel like every 6 months, Coco Gauff is being wronged, and everybody on Twitter is defending her. The tough thing about defending her in this case, and whether the call impacted the way that her swing path or not, she still had ample opportunity, and to not be able to pull yourself out of that.
Yeah, she had 3 break points in the following game that she just...
To not be able to pull yourself out of whatever mental funk you were in is deeply human, but it's also no reason to blame anybody else. And like, I'm not here. I'm not steeped in the culture of tennis like you. These type of reactions are not uncommon. It's kind of like how baseball managers yell at the umps in a way that you never would allow it in any other sports that we watch. So like, I'm not going to pretend like I understand or appreciate or know how acceptable any of this is. But what I do know is you got to be able to pull yourself out of that. And it's hard, I'm sure, but it's hard to then go on complaining about the way you're being treated and whatever conspiracy is happening if you don't take care of your business afterwards. But I guess if you take care of your business afterwards, then you have nothing to complain about because you won.
I thought, I mean, I agree. I thought the way she lost afterwards was really interesting too. Yeah. Like, she's someone who has had a lot of issues with her second serve. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know I guess it's free throws is the comparable thing. Being able to throw to first base as a pitcher, like when John Lester couldn't throw to first. She double faulted 7 times in that match. Mentally, whatever got triggered by her feeling she was wronged by the chair umpire rewired something that she had been working on for several years. She became a Grand Slam champion by not shanking her forehand and fixing her second serve. And to see it like in that moment, and I do wonder if it's a pressure situation of all of this. She was the Olympic flag bearer for, and along with LeBron James, and she's 20 years old. We've known her for so long, but who knows the next time the Olympics will be on a surface that she prefers and feels she has an advantage of over the field. And I wonder if the pressure of that was just immense for someone in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely...
I'm psychoanalyzing.
No. I mean, it's hard not to say that the issue was psychological in this. Yeah. Like, this is one of the rare opportunities where you can see that some of it, whatever happened, was psychological. The thing is, we've talked about Coco in this situation, and you said she's 20 years old. I think it also like just probably puts into perspective the expectations that we have of so many of these athletes and how we should like appreciate when they do overcome these things, because you know what the human thing is? It's to crumble when you're 20 years old and the whole world is looking at you and you're on the court all by yourself and you feel like you're getting cheated and things start to go wrong a little bit. The most human and normal thing is to not be able to overcome it. Coco's been able to overcome it in the past. I'm sure she will again in the future. Yeah. But like,
and I don't want to baby it. Like, she acted like a brat on the court in this situation in a way that she shouldn't have.
Is it so? You as a serious tennis fan and me as like a casual tennis fan, it feels like it's always happening to Coco, and that might feel that way because she's her reactions are big and she's so famous and we just love her, and the media or the attention around it gets stirred up in a way that gets to me. Whereas when it happens with other tennis players, it doesn't get big enough for me to care about it. But is this unique to the Coco's reaction? Is she unique from other tennis players, or is the amount of bad calls that hit Coco a unique thing, or what?
I mean, like, so here's the thing. When I saw it live, I was like, this is weird. Like, they almost always replay the point when this type of thing happens, and they slowed it down. The umpire made the right call. Yeah. And initially, when I was texting, I was like, wow, she got hosed. Mm-hmm. And then they slowed it down, and it's like, it was pretty definitive. She did not get hosed in this situation. So good question, because the way I would describe it is, in men's tennis, we've had this period of like stars who are so venerated that the calls don't even matter. Mm-hmm. Like, you would have needed 30 of those calls for Prime Nadal to lose at Roland Garros. Like, those guys are getting to the finals of all these things. Also, a lot of this will be eliminated by Hawkeye. Hawkeye will be on clay in 2025. And I mean, it's crazy it's not on there now. It's like, then you just play the next ball and don't even worry about this. The Coco stuff, I don't think so. I don't think she melts down that much. I know she's had it 3 times this season, which might feel like she's melting down more. And again, I think that's the pressure of the fact that she won a Grand Slam last year, and then the realization that she's not as close to another one as she thought. Because you're number 2 in the world. The gap between number 2 and number 1 is immense right now in women's tennis. And when you're a prodigy like Coco, I'm sure that's weird. You're like, you win the US Open, you probably think you're going to start winning more. But no, like Coco's behavior and like outbursts are nothing compared to like a Sasha Zverev or a Nick Kyrgios on the men's side. Or like an Ostapenko on the women's side. Like she's just more famous. So I think we notice it more.
I mean, the mental toll that tennis takes on a lot of players is like evident. We've had plenty of stories. We saw Naomi Osaka like stepped away from the game for a period because of the mental health stuff.
A lot of that, for the record, started from a match against Serena Williams, where Serena Williams' meltdown has actually become underrated of how crazy it was. Yeah. She was getting beaten in a US Open final. She foot faulted, and she argued with the umpire about it, she then questioned the umpire's integrity, X, Y, and Z, threatened the umpire, made Naomi Osaka feel like absolute garbage, that she was actually crying and apologizing when she won the US Open as a teenager. So like when I think about it, like that's a meltdown that was like beyond anything. And Serena's the best player ever, but her sportsmanship was terrible at times.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm sure that had something to do with it, but that wasn't the whole toll that it took on Naomi Osaka. Yeah. But I do think, I guess generally the thing that I take from this is, upon talking about it with you, is like, this shit is hard.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. Alone. It's a lot out there for young people in those situations. And is Naomi Osaka coming back?
She's back. She's going to win another Grand Slam.
Oh, without Corday, though. Didn't they break up?
I'm not sure. She has a kid now.
Oh, yeah.
But
Corday got a new song out with Lil Wayne on it.
Osaka's ground strokes are unbelievable.
Wayne's verse is better than Corday's.
This is two Americas.
Yeah, Wayne's verse is better than Corday, unfortunately. Or fortunately. Mixtape Wayne never leaves us. All right, Charlie. Appreciate you. This has been fun. Thanks for joining me. Thanks to the producers. I love you, Podville. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.